Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and it's an honor to be here with you today. Let's talk about Venus in Leo that will be arriving July 11th, which is this coming Thursday from when I record this video on July 6th. I will be talking about this in my Aspects of the Week video that will be released tomorrow evening, probably midday tomorrow. Still working on some other aspects I want to maybe mention, but this is a very important transit for a couple of reasons. One, Venus is changing signs. So anytime a planet changes signs, this is a big deal because we will have a new expression and a new part of our birth charts activating a new part of our life. And yes, continuing the story of things that Venus might have picked up on the way and revealed to you and brought to you from all of the other prior zodiac sign transits as time has been evolving. And that's something I actually don't think many people know really or pay attention to, is every single, every from new moon to full moon, from transit to transit. It's not like, a planet or something changes signs and we kind of forget about what happened in Cancer. Every time a planet moves, anytime anything happens in astrology that affects our birth chart, right? Because all astrology affects our natal chart. It's like little moments of karma constantly being accumulated. So whatever Venus provided you in Cancer for Cancer season or the new moon season, Gemini, everything's being affected all at once, all the time. So what Venus has been doing will greatly still be influenced in what's going on in Leo. But because time moves forward in this time-space reality, the ingresses into new signs and houses, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, is still a very big deal because it is a new moment for that planet's expression to begin a new journey, karmically speaking, in our lives. So Venus's ingress into Leo is a powerful one. It is the first time Leo is back in a fire sign since Aries, which has been a while, of course. It's been months. We can start discussing eclipse season a little bit if we want to, even though I'm not going to. I don't want to make any associations to eclipse season regarding this transit because there's too many other powerful moments happening. One of them I already sort of briefly mentioned in a recent video involving politics, which I must say, everyone, that the astrology is so precise right now with what's going on in the world. And you all know me. I'm not someone who will harp on politics and collective events like in every video, because my true intention as an astrologer is to help you understand your experience, help you heal, to understand shamanic astrology and evolutionary astrology in regards to your evolutionary soul's growth, destiny, and fate here. My mini masterclass, Mapping the Soul, which is available now. If you click down below in the descriptions, you can see how you can access my teaching portal. But in that class, and I have other little pre-recorded classes there too, guys, that are pretty affordable. If anyone wants to expand their astrological learning, for an hour plus, my masterclass is 6 hours. But my real intention as an astrologer is to help you change your life or see your life in a new way and to heal wounds and understand karma and the nature of reality and how maybe God participates in this whole story, So I'm a psycho-spiritual, shamanic astrologer, right? Using the psyche and the spiritual nature of all of what life is and what we're doing here and how we can navigate this life, as enlightened as possible, so to speak, to get Buddhist in a way. But when it comes to world events and politics, and I don't want to say politics like 24/7 politics here. I would never waste my time making this like a political YouTube channel, like never get that impression. But there are things in time that are so in our face, popular in the mass culture, that if you really want a masterclass in the accuracy and truth of astrology. We should talk about it. Like, I can't ignore how significant the U.S. Situation is, and how we're at a moment where astrologers and myself have been predicting and anticipating the amount of collective upheaval, confusion, transformation, whether for the good or the worse, that it was bound to be happening. I mean, since the U.S. Pluto return happened a couple of years back, which is where Capricorn made a full circle around the zodiac in the American's birth chart, right? America, 1776, the founding of the country. Pluto made its first entire transit back to its original Pluto natal placement, which was at 28 degrees, I believe 27, 28 degrees Capricorn. And Pluto right now is retrograding back into Capricorn and will, I don't think, get exactly to the Pluto return, but it's going to get very close. Still a very close conjunction, right? Which means that the Pluto return of America and all of this little back and forth seesawing into Aquarius, back into Capricorn, which has already happened before. Pluto has already gone into Aquarius and retrograded back into Capricorn once before. It already has retrograded in Capricorn once or twice, seesawing back and forth over the natal placement. And this was already 2 going on 3 years of this Pluto seesawing over the natal Pluto of America, which has always signaled to us astrologers that this is a very transformative moment involving the nation of America, what it stands for. And is this a moment where we have to confront, what does it mean to be an American? What is democracy? Is this experiment as a democracy working? It's a defining moment coming full circle to the foundations of our country. And we are seeing a moment in history where between culture, socioeconomics, economics, capitalism, foreign affairs, and the presidency, between one of the most divisive figures in modern time. And again, I'm not someone who, I have my political, opinion, right? But as an astrologer, I'm not here to voice my opinion. My job when I discuss these things is to be a technician, an analyst, and to just show you what's happening. And we're dealing with a moment where America will be defined forever at this point. This point forward will be a defining moment of what America actually is. Can it be repaired? Can it not be repaired? Can we find unity? Can we not find unity? What's going on here? So a lot of the upcoming astrology, and the astrology, over the last couple of years, it hasn't been all about politics, this, that, and the other thing. But every ounce of astrology right now, coming up all through next year, and even through the next couple of years, because all of the major big planets are changing signs, and this is all going to be signaling massive world shifts. Not just America, but America anchors the world, whether we like it or not. We are a major force in the world, and we have planned that, from over 100 years ago. And World War II was really when we as a country put our stake in the ground and really took over world dominance, post all the colonial stuff over the last hundreds of years, because, colonialism from Europe really took over the world in many ways. And then America became America, and we were still a big force in the world with that, and then World War II really put our stake in the ground as far as how we built the world, economically speaking, and with military security. So America has been the anchor of the world. And now that America is in the place that it's in, the world is changing and shifting and transforming. And a lot of the destabilization in Europe is because of even some American and Western influence, generally speaking, and other countries that have been destabilized. And this is just the facts. I'm not blaming one thing or another, whatever the case is. This is just what's going on. And the American election, this moment in history, is really a defining moment. And every ounce of astrology is dictating some of these things. Which is why my recent video, and with the Mars-Uranus conjunction, right? All of this stuff is coming out into the open. There are massive shockwaves in every ounce of the political sphere right now. There is, and again, something else I wanted to mention, is that when we had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, that we had massive protests with the Palestinian-Israeli thing, right? Massive college protests, this, that, and the other thing. So in my opinion, anything that's touching Uranus right now is dealing with upheaval, protests, and very, very shocking stuff. And right now we are seeing shifts of power. We are seeing a lot, if you've been following anything going on in Europe, we've been seeing a lot of countries, voting far right, almost fascist leaders into positions of power. That's why the leader of France was getting so serious about doing these snap elections, because the far right movements in all of Europe have been so dominant. Britain literally just changed power yesterday or the day before. Britain is now, they switched from conservative party to a liberal party. And there's just these shocking actions taking place. And Mars and Uranus are playing a big role right now in all of that. Now, Mars and Uranus in America, again, the media, people being defiant and not wanting to step down, because we all know Joe Biden really should not be running for president. Donald Trump is crazy, and his rhetoric, and is just a wild card animated figure, very controversial, has a following base that's pretty scary to a lot of people, very, delusional in many ways, how we need a second revolution, and, there could be bloodshed against the liberal. I mean, there's this wild things being said. Mars is being even more activated right now with Uranus, and then we had Mercury opposite Pluto, which was all about, in my opinion, the debate and the media now turning on, Joe Biden, telling him he needs to step down. Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of collective ideals, government, systems, structures. So Pluto is now affecting anything that has to do with the world stage, governments, society, media, things that involve collective things. And that opposition to Mercury was huge when it comes to people saying what everyone has really been thinking for a while, because that debate, was so powerfully obvious. This election is completely and utterly a mess, on Trump's side and on Biden's side. Okay, let's not get it twisted. We don't have an awesome election now, and and Donald Trump isn't Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Okay, no matter how much people want to pretend that that's the case. He's still a crazy loudmouth businessman who lies through his teeth from New York, right? He's in no way a religious follower of any kind. But Venus in Leo, guys, let me get back to maybe the heart of the video now that I'm 13 minutes into it. Because I already spoke about this a little bit in my last video, and I won't make this video any longer. But Venus in Leo, in my opinion, when it gets to the position where Mercury just was, where we've had this conversation around Biden, the debate, should he drop out, the media's going crazy, the Mars-Uranus conjunction is getting tighter. I think when Venus gets into the exact position in the ingress where Mercury just was, and when Venus goes directly opposite of Pluto, we are going to see the conversation switch greatly to getting a woman in power. I could be wrong, but if I had to make a prediction right now, I would say this is the moment where Biden steps down and a woman steps up to the plate and becomes a contender for the next president of the United States. Either this could be Kamala Harris, either this could be somebody else. Or if it's not something happening right now, what will be coming out in the media is that the arguments for a woman president, like there'll be the conversation at the end of next week into the middle of July will be very much centered around the feminine energy taking leadership roles. Okay, so that is my opinion collectively on what may happen with Venus and Leo. And then all of Venus and Leo's transit, I think we can maybe start seeing maybe more and more of that start to manifest. Now, in our individual lives, people who have Venus and Leo should already kind of know this. Venus and Leo wants us to express the beauty of the world, in a very outward way. Venus and Leo wants to take action in things that are beautiful. It wants to engage, in a very powerful way with things that are beautiful and, that can bring, influence and power to things that are beautiful. So, I know a lot of Venus Leo people. I've met a lot of them in my life, and a lot of them seem to be very, attractive people, and not just looks, just very attractive in energy, just very likable, very lovable, people that can kind of just, walk in with a smile, or they're very charming. There's a charm, a very charming and, kind of soothing element to a Venus Leo placement energy. So I think, we can start to see maybe more elevated aspects of charm and of things that just look and feel good, right? So in our own individual lives, in the individual part of your birth chart, there could be an influx of beauty that really comes in a very passionate way. Leo is a very passionate sign, can be very passionate about anything, really. And when we're dealing with Venus, we're dealing with this feminine sensitivity of expression and beauty. And also, femininity and sexuality even. So we can see more attraction to things that that could really elevate that part of our life, wherever Leo falls in your birth chart. Good with words, very poetic, and but again, it's about the expression of that. It's not like poetic Venus in like Pisces, where it's like a subtle, sensitive poetic, that's just a little bit, almost like a musician that's just super, talented. They're just very sexual and they don't even have to do much. Where Venus in Leo is very in your face. It is like, I'm going to be a poet, and you're almost like, I'm just kind of getting like, imagine like Lady Gaga being a Venus in Leo versus a Venus in Pisces being more like Billie Eilish, or more like, Venus in Pisces could be more like, what's a good example? I'm trying to think of this acoustic guitarist who was so good, and she was this woman. Oh my God, it's slipping my mind. But just imagine like maybe a calmer acoustic folk singer, feminine energy, who's just super, elevated and singing that folk song, finger picking the acoustic guitar, but again, so sensitive and poetic. That would be more like a Venus in Pisces, where Lady Gaga would be more like Venus in Leo. So very in your face, beautiful, loud, and not afraid, to take stage and be seen. So Venus in Leo wants to really express, beauty and poetry and, just even sexuality, just the feminine, front and center, very pride oriented, But again, guys, really take notice of the world if you're not too afraid of examining the world. And in some of my videos, depending on what transits I talk about, coming up on the channel, I will be dropping examples from politics and what's going on in the world, because it's too literal. It really is too literal. And it is unfolding moment by moment in our lives. And I think it's very important, as a astrologer or an astrology enthusiast, to not be afraid to see the literalness of astrology and how it manifests in the world. We are in the world and we are part of the world. We don't have to participate in the madness. But if you are interested in astrology, it's more than just yourself. We are an individual, a part of a collective human story, right? And that human story involves everything in life. Most astrology, to be honest, in my life manifests outside of me, meaning like the transits manifest through other people and I'm just the observer of the astrology, Astrology happens to me, of course, but for me, it's almost like I notice what's going on out there more than I personally get affected by certain transits. But that doesn't mean I don't get affected by personal transits, guys. I do, I'm just saying, like, I'm constantly observing people close to me or people in my everyday experience. I'm seeing the astrology play out through them, right? And I'm not necessarily all the time seeing it play out like for my own actions, But again, I use shamanic astrological magic a lot, and I intentionally put energetic emphasis on certain things that go on in the astrology, knowing that certain parts around my birth chart are being triggered, and I activate them with my will. And, I think that's where the power of shamanic magic and astrological magic is so important to understand. And it's something I very, very deeply talk about in my masterclass, Mapping the Soul. So yeah, guys, well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please read the description box once again. If you want to book a reading with me, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to help you. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. See you in the next video.